It is a great honor for Lydia and me to be here today, to be in the presence of Korean patriots, great Korean patriots, because you are fighters and you are freedom's fighters. Today on the Korean Peninsula, freedom is at risk, democracy is at risk, everything is at risk, and Koreans can now lose their homeland. If we want to know where the front line of freedom in the world is today, it is the Republic of Korea. Today, we will start our discussion with the bedrock of Korean security. That is the alliance forged in blood. That is the treaty between the Republic of Korea and the United States of America. This is the special bond between the two countries. It was signed in 1953, just after the end of the Korean War fighting, just after the armistice, and it is the special bond. It is what ties our two great nations together. But this treaty could be terminated soon. Lee Jae-myung is doing everything in his power to end it. Let's be clear. Lee Jae-myung, he hates America. While campaigning in 2021 for the nomination of Minju, he said American troops were an occupying force. But even more explosively, as we just heard, he blamed the United States for the continuation of the Japanese occupation, and that clearly was wrong. He hates America. On the 9th of this month, we saw at a cabinet meeting, he wanted to criminalize the protests against China. But at the same time, he's allowing protests in front of the American embassy, even protesters who call for Trump's death. It's okay with Yi. And we know that the Democratic Party of Korea, Minju, has traditionally opposed the United States, and it's supported China and North Korea. But Yi, as soon as becoming president, he's wasted no time in undermining ties with America. For instance, in a move which was meant to undermine the alliance, the annual Ulchi Freedom exercises between the South Korean and the American militaries was cut short by the practical training operations outside in the air, and this was intentional. Now, the administration of Yi said, well, we were just trying to adjust the schedule for logistical purposes. But we know from statements from Yi's administration that they did this because they were worried about what China would think and what North Korea would think. Of greater concern, on July 21, special prosecutors raided the Osan Air Base, which is jointly operated by U.S. Forces Korea and the Republic of Korea Air Force. These prosecutors went into a facility that was jointly operated by the two militaries, the Master Control and Reporting Center. And that was a violation of Korea's obligations to the United States under the Status of Forces Agreement. The prosecutor seized radar data as well as data on America's U-2 surveillance planes. The raid upset President Trump so much that the United States canceled 2 high-level dialogues with Korea. The first one was on July 21, the day of the raid. Secretary of State Marco Rubio canceled a meeting with his counterpart in Washington. And also, just after that, a 2+2 dialogue was also put on hold. Lee Jae-myung has attacked the U.S. alliance, but more important, he has attacked Korea's democratic institutions. We start with the most fundamental attack, the attack on elections. The June 3 presidential election was marred by widespread irregularities. And we have been told that Lee Jae-myung won that contest by 8 points. Well, did he? Well, of course not. We have just heard that there has been fraud in Korean elections since 2003. This decade, we have seen widespread, obvious irregularities in the national elections in 2020, 2022, 2024, and of course, in the June 3rd election. They were all marred by widespread fraud. We know there's been widespread fraud, and probably the best evidence of this is that Lee Jae-myung wants to make criminal any criticisms of his fraudulent elections. This is an attack on democracy. This is an attack on Korea. And this is an attack on all of you. Democracies depend critically on free and fair elections. But under Lee Jae-myung, there will never be another free and fair election in Korea. There would never have been the need for a June 3 presidential election if President Yoon had not been removed. Lee Jae-myung led the effort in the National Assembly to paralyze the government of President Yoon by filing 22 impeachment motions. And then after Yoon was impeached, we saw him try to impeach and successfully impeach the acting president, Han Duck-seo. And after he was impeached, they went after the next acting president. After the country's constitutional court removed Yoon, then Yi had Yoon charged with the spurious claim of insurrection. As the great Morris Tan has told us, Yi has created this false narrative of insurrection. After all, President Yoon had the right to declare martial law. It's in the Constitution. And when the National Assembly rescinded his martial law decree, President Yoon complied. How could that be insurrection? It's an honor for Lydia and me to be alongside with you in this fight. Your courage and your conviction inspires us every day. Lee Jae-myung's government is now holding President Yoon in inhumane conditions. In a small cell in sweltering weather, we have seen the government deny medications to President Yoon. This harsh treatment was made even worse on August 7th, when Yi sent in 10 elite soldiers to rough up President Yoon. He was torn limb to limb. He was forced down into his chair, and then they made a video of him and they released it to the public to humiliate President Yoon. But President Yoon is not the only target of Minju. We have seen Minju go after people for no reason other than expressing their views in public and assembling. We have seen him investigate citizens for lawful assembly. We have seen Lee allow Chinese infiltrators into South Korean society, and now they are trying to ban the opposition party. On August 13th, there was an attempt and a raid on the offices of the People Power Party. But it's not just politicians that Yi has gone after. He has been raiding houses of worship and imprisoning reverends, ministers, and pastors. Authorities on the 8th of this month imprisoned Pastor Sun of the Seguro Church in Busan. He has been held in detention, and the authorities, without telling his family, without telling his lawyers, said that they were going to send him to jail. But they actually bound him in ropes and moved him over to the prosecutor's office. We must pray for the safety of Pastor Sun. The attack on religion has been ferocious, but the attack on democracy has been just as ferocious. So what will Yi do next? He is beginning a wholesale reorganization of the government, and I am sure that after he is finished, he will end up with absolute power. Yi is reorganizing the prosecutor's office, and I'm sure that as it's finished, prosecutors will have even less independence. So what we are seeing is a wholesale reorganization of the Justice Department, and I know that at the end of this, it's going to look just like China's, as people in Korea have been saying. Minju is now trying to change the Communications Commission, and at the end of this process, Yi will have total control of Korea's media. He is also reorganizing the finance ministry to remove controls on spending, which means he will have unlimited power of the purse. He is now trying to figure out how far he can push the Korean people. So it's up to us to stop this, to resist this, and to show him he cannot go any further. The United States has endured 3 leftist Korean presidents: Kim Dae-jung, Roh Moo-hyun, and Moon Jae-in. And I think in Washington right now, there is this sense of confidence that they can get past Lee Jae-myung. Problem is, Lee Jae-myung is more ruthless, he is more determined, he's more of a socialist, he's more of a China lover, he's more of a North Korea lover, and he's more of an American hater. All of this means is that Korea's alliance with the US is in great danger, and Korea's democracy is in great danger. It is now dark in Korea. But worse, there's a darkness that has fallen over Korea. But I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic because the flame of freedom burns bright in Korea. It burns bright in the hearts of Koreans, and they are taking to the streets to protect their democracy. Let's remember what is at stake. This is a fight between freedom and oppression. This is a fight between democracy and tyranny. And this is a fight between good and evil. The Korean people now face the greatest test in more than a half century. And this is the last moment to save democracy in Korea. The brave people of Korea will take back their country. They are heroes, and all of you here today who support them, you are heroes. So you are not alone. We are together, we stand together, and we will prevail together. We are one. Fight, fight, fight.